You know what, Hasbro? I can totally see why you couldn't tell these two apart. I mean, just look. I mean, they're practically twins. Here's another one of those molds we need to refresh ourselves on before his repaint starts cluttering up shelves everywhere for last night. This is Age of Extinction Strafe, probably one of the most talked about of the new Dinobots. Not for the best of reasons, and yeah, you can see why already, but we will get to that in due time. For now, let's take a look at him as a whole, as I have him here in the upright Rodan position. He is cast in a lot of blue plastic and a bit of black plastic as well, but a lot of his coloring comes from some very nice ice blue metallic paint blending into silver around some areas. It looks absolutely beautiful on this guy. Very, very nice. Very nice transitioning between the blue to the light blue to the silver. It's exceptionally well done and gives him a very nice look. Also, it does help that it's painted across such a big wingspan. You know, if he is like normally deluxe size and width, as you can see, he gets pretty freaking massive just on wing shape alone. Now, I've got his weapons mounted on him right now, so like if I put him this way for flight mode, you can see where his crossbow launcher fits on the back and his blades fit inside of his claws. Now, for the sake of cleaning him up so he can be properly seen in beast mode, we'll go ahead and pull those off and set them aside for now. We will see those again once we get to the robot. But now you can see him in all of his glory. Now, this is interesting. For some reason, even though these guys are supposed to be scanning, actual dinosaurs, somehow Strafe managed to scan something that doesn't exist, a two-headed pteranodon. I don't know why. Like, is this actually like movie Slug Slinger and he just happened to scan like a dinosaur instead? I never understood like this. Like, I don't know why he would scan a prehistoric doduo, but this is what he's done. He has also managed to duplicate his tails, since now he has two of them in very soft plastic, by the way. Of course it is. You don't get that kind of bend in just normal like solid plastic there, do you? So no, he's got some weirdness going on that kept him from having the name Swoop, or so they say, just because he looked so different. Deco-wise, I still really like the toy, though. I mean, aside from the nice gradient pattern going on the wings, you have all this intercut black going through here, especially across the wings. The spine molding across the wings is very vicious looking, very cool. It's like he flies with his wings trimmed in barbed wire. It's very cool. Or, from this angle, he actually looks more like my electric razor, but beyond that, very, very nice. You see two big, bold Autobot symbols painted onto the tops of his wings. Proudly Autobot, I would say. Well, not so much if you follow the Dinobots in the movie, but hey, they're there. Silver on the talons, and of course on the head, you got a little bit in the eyes. Light blue. Works nice. And a little bit of silver tracing down the beak. It's a pretty nice deco. Like, there's plenty of paint on this guy, which for Age of Extinction is pretty good. Where you lose that a little bit is the simplicity of the whole thing, because, of course, guess how he transforms into a robot, guys. Just take a wild guess. How do you think? Maybe these extremely obvious robot mode arms that don't even hide his hands. Well, nope. There's gaps, but they don't fold into there. That's not so good. Yeah. So he's going to be pretty basic. Let's go ahead and get him transformed just so we can go ahead and talk about him a little bit more, just for the sake of inclusion. He does have some wing flap he can give. You see the wings can expand and retract a little bit. Most notably, his heads do have a somewhat range of motion. They can go left and right. There's a hinge there to curve a little bit, and the mouth is open. And that's about what you get for playability. Legs work a little bit, but they're a little bit awkward in this mode. So let's go ahead and flip them out. So we can go ahead and get the robot going. Rotate them around. That takes some of that weird bend out of him. Still a little bit though. He's a little bit bow-legged, which has always been very, very strange for this toy. You're going to want to unclip the arms from the wings. It's a pretty long peg, so it takes a good pull in order to actually dislodge them, but they will come out if you give it just a good enough tug. Head. Let's see. We'll get those two heads out of the way. We can raise up the robot mode head. And the interesting part, and the whole reason why he has two dino heads is because they really liked the look of that. Putting the two dino heads side by side like that. And guess what? We're already done. That is the entirety of his transformation. So, we have our deluxe Strafe in his robot mode, and this is, he doesn't look too different from the mode I just reviewed, does he? It's exceptionally simple. Now, of course, it's a Pteranodon. I don't expect a whole lot of transformation, but when the G1 toy has more steps to transform him than this guy does, that should tell you things. So let's go ahead. We'll take a look at his singular head in this mode. Like the other Dinobots, he's gone very old school in looking very night-ish. And I better stick to this angle because this is where the light is. It's not a bad helmet design. It's a little bit plain. Now, it is something of a running theme that they do just kind of look like medieval helmets for the Dinobots, but I don't know. I think the others had a little bit more character to them. This is just a very sleek helmet with a vaguely Boba Fett-esque visor that goes down the mouth in the front section of the helmet. I don't know. At least he's got a big mohawk there. That's something, I guess. So yeah, what can we say about this guy? Well, I can't really say my usuals of, well, this color's now taken over and they balance out with this color. No, the exact same colors are showing the exact same spots because it's pretty much the exact same thing. You do get a little bit more black in the robot. That's mostly just because of the dino heads there, and maybe a little bit more in the legs now. I don't know. This guy is so basic. It's frustrating. But I don't know, at least he still looks nice with the wings. I don't know. The wings themselves, I wish had a little bit more play in this mode. Like, I wish they folded back a little bit more. They don't. They take the arms with them when they do, which is frustrating. You can raise them this way. If you remember Cybertron Brimstone. I don't know. I'm grasping at straws here, trying to make this toy a little bit more interesting. Let's see. We can go ahead and do articulation. Seems a little early in the review, but hey, we got to do something, right? Ball jointed head. That works pretty well. Goes in all the different directions. The arms, universally jointed, so the shoulders have great range in the shoulders. Independent swivel on the wings themselves, so rather than position them like a Cybertron toy, for instance, you can also keep them to his back, even though his arm is going all over the place. Bicep swivel and elbow joint, but no wrist swivel, which means, like a lot of the Dinobots, he has those barbell curling arms. It's so frustrating. See, he does have a waist joint, which is a lovely thing to have. Full range of motion in the ball joints of the hips. Knees. Knees work pretty well. You have a full rotation here. You have a little bit more if you want it, but it kind of breaks the transformation there. And yeah, nothing rocking or doing at the ankles at all. So at least he has good articulation. He should, for as simplistic as he kind of keeps things, I would expect him to do something to keep himself interesting. At the very least, his accessory count is a step above some of his other cohorts. For instance, we do have these twin blades that we can attach into his hands. One and a two. There we go. Now, there is a bit of rotation in the wrists. It's not a whole lot, but the swivel is there, so it's hard to count it as articulation, but it provides this nice downward motion, which, when it comes to a sword wielder, actually lets him aim his sword forward, as if lunging or threatening an opponent, which is actually very, very cool. This is why wrist articulation is so important on a sword-wielding figure. That said bicep curling problem is a primary result of him not having quite as much to do with his swords as I would hope. So unfortunately, they do kind of go a little bit unused. That's really unfortunate. Man, we have a little bit of good articulation for the swords and a little bit of bad. So, it runs about average as a result. What about his other weapon? Since he's a big fan of Chewbacca, so he comes with his own bowcaster, I guess. I don't know. I am grasping at straws in this review. So let's see. Same as the others. He does have a nice look to it. I like a good crossbow weapon. They go underrated a lot, and you do have a pressure-launched missile. Missile-firing gimmicks are kind of a rarer thing these days, especially among deluxes. So it's kind of nice anytime you see one. I guess the simplistic nature of Strafe actually does allow them to have a little bit more budget for things like this. Also, if you want to make it a little bit more fierce, there are actual pegs that these blades can actually connect onto. Just stick it on the underside like so. We'll go ahead and stick the other one like that. And you come up with a much more ferocious looking weapon, which is actually kind of cool. I kind of like that configuration, especially if you're lacking in the articulation department for his sword wielding. At the very least, he can make a pretty cool bow weapon, which I always appreciate. So that, my friends, is Age of Extinction Strafe. I gotta admit, not a whole lot to him. He does manage to look really cool. Big, giant, bladed, and, just little spine-laden wings will tend to do that. But he is an extremely simplistic transformation, and his joints are limited in just the wrong spots for the accessories he comes with, which is really a downturn on the toy. I don't mind him so much, but he does end up looking a little bit substandard, unfortunately. Big part coming to just, how simple he looks. Just how simple his engineering is, and the fact that the two modes really don't look that much different from each other. And I still don't get the two-head thing. I figured one big pteranodon head split in half could have done the same thing. Oh well.